Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Northern Future Forum, the third event of its kind, being held here in Riga. This is the third one. My name is Paul Strauceps. I'm a journalist here in Latvia, and I'll be the moderator this morning and for the panel discussion and press conference in the afternoon. But we have a very tight schedule, a lot to do, and so without further ado, I think I'll hand the mic over, the symbolic microphone, to the Prime Minister of Latvia, Valdis Dombrovskis, our host this morning. Mr. Dombrovskis, please.
Well, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let me begin with noting that it's a great honor for Latvia to welcome Northern Future Forum here in Latvia and to have such distinguished guests here in Latvia. And I do hope that Northern Future Forum is becoming a tradition, and it's facilitating also cooperation between Nordic Baltic countries and UK. It's facilitating common understanding on the number of issues, and it's also helping us to address those issues which are of joint interest and which needs to be resolved in the region and in a broader perspective in EU, in Europe, and in other entities. So this year's forums, for this year's forum, we have chosen two topics. One is how to make green economy, green energy competitive. This is something which we are starting to feel ever more, while as a EU we are certainly championing green growth, environmental policies, climate change policies. At the same time, we are now ever more seeing the cost. It's becoming an issue in Latvia, it's becoming an issue in a number of EU countries. You see the cost rising, you start seeing your industries complaining about what effects it has on the competitiveness of the corresponding industries. So we need to think how to make green energy not only environmentally but also economically sustainable. And our other today's topic is on addressing the digital divide and also addressing the issues as regards development of the digital single market, because this is one of the areas where I would say EU and European cooperation so far has been limited. It's a very fragmented activity, and there's lots of scope actually and lots of aspects how we can improve things by seeking synergies and learning best practices and doing things together. This is a quite unique format, because in most of forums it's prime ministers which do all the talking and other people are listening. In this case, this forum is mainly about prime ministers listening and experts talking. So I would particularly like to welcome the experts from all the countries which have come to Latvia, also Latvian experts, to share their thoughts in today's topic, and I hope that at the end of the day we'll be able to come up with a new policy idea, something we will be able to implement in our corresponding countries and also propose for the EU and other policies. So once again, thank you very much for coming, and I do hope that this will be a very successful forum indeed. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister Dombrovskis. Some of you have attended forums like this before, one of the previous ones. Some of you haven't, and you may not know that the author of this idea is the Prime Minister of Britain, David Cameron. And so I'd like to give the floor to him to explain a little bit how he came up with this original idea, and sort of, as Prime Minister Dombrovskis said, very unique idea of prime ministers listening rather than talking.
Well, thank you very much. There were really two ideas behind it. I think one is that so many of the times that we meet, we have formal meetings, long speeches, long communiques, endless arguing about particular phrases that have to go in the communique or stay out of the communique, and that can be very stultifying. That was the first thought. The second thought is that the United Kingdom and the Nordic and Baltic countries have a lot of common interests and common agendas. We're all in a global race for economic competitiveness, for jobs, for growth. we all need to innovate. We need to make the most of the new technologies. And so the idea was to have a different sort of meeting where we shared our common interests, but instead of the politicians doing all the talking, we got some experts together in various areas of innovation and growth and listened to their ideas, and then hopefully went away and thought about how we could apply those ideas together and how we could apply them to our own countries. So all I want to say this morning is to thank Valdis for hosting this third meeting of the Northern Futures Forum. I think it's a good forum. I really thoroughly support it, and I get a lot out of it in terms of fresh thinking and fresh ideas. I think Latvia is the perfect place to host it. There's a lot of innovation taking place in your country. You've made a lot of bold economic reforms, which we need to look at and in many ways follow. We all need to make reforms, and the European Union itself needs to make reforms to be more open, more competitive, more flexible. So I hope we can use this summit to listen to some of those ideas. I think the particular topics that you've chosen, green growth and the digital economy, are perfect ideas for a forum like this. On the first, on green growth, we've got to make sure that we see the green agenda as an opportunity for jobs and wealth creation and not just a series of obligations. Green tech is growing fast in most of our countries, and we've got to make the most of it. Digital is a huge opportunity, but in some ways in Europe it's a missed opportunity. We've got a single market, but we don't have a single digital market. If you listen to whether it's iTunes or Spotify, they'll both tell you they're still not allowed to establish in every European country, and you can't possibly have a digital single market without common standards and without businesses being able to establish themselves all over the European Union. So I hope this is a forum in which you, the experts, will challenge the politicians, give us ambitious and difficult ideas for us to try and take on and implement. That, I think, should be the purpose of today. But thank you very much again, Valdis, for hosting us, and thank you to the experts for coming and giving us your advice and time.
Thank you, Prime Minister Cameron. The first forum took place in London. The second took place in Stockholm. And Prime Minister Reinfeldt of Sweden, perhaps could share what were the main lessons that were learned there and perhaps that could also influence our thinking today.
Yes, well, first of all, many thanks to Valdis Dombrovskis for sharing the third meeting. I think, adding to what David said, it's very important that we are geographically very close to each other and that we share very much the same kind of challenges when we look at the structure of our societies, and this was the fact of what we're trying to see in Stockholm. One of the things changing our society is that we have a large portion of elderly people, and that when we look ahead, we can see that we will live longer lives, and actually most of the increase in our population we are seeing is in the ages above 65 years of age. This is, of course, fantastic because a lot of people can now live longer lives than is expected or ever seen before. But it also puts challenges, pressure on our welfare systems, on the way we work, on how we actually conduct our work life. And these were our first topic. The second topic is the gender balance when it comes to top career people in our society. It tends to be more men than women. And especially interesting, I think, since we have a de facto situation, at least in Sweden, I think it's also true in many other countries, where girls perform better in schools and throughout the educational system, but at the end of the day, it ends up being very more often men at top position, especially in the business life. So this is probably linked very much to the way we divide responsibility when it comes to raising children. And therefore, you cannot only look at the career opportunities in the business life, you must also ask yourself, what kind of society do we have when it comes to gender balance in raising children? So this was our second topic, and I felt, as David said, it's very rewarding, a combination of political leaders, business leaders, academic life, and other kind of experts coming together, because that's not normally the way we discuss things, and that, I think, has opened for a more open debate coming from different positions. Therefore, I think this is a very rewarding forum that we are now seeing the third time.
Thank you, Prime Minister Reinfeldt. Before we begin, a little bit of housekeeping. First of all, as you know, there are four groups. 3 of them will be taking place in this building. The 4th will be taking place outside. So if you are in that 4th group, look for a person with a blue sign that says Group 4, and they will lead you to that place where your group is taking place. The second thing is, if you are a member of a delegation that's not an expert, you have a chance to participate in one of the groups, but you have to act fast because there's a limited number of places in each of the groups, and if you see that all the places are full, please go to another group. There's a limited number of places. If there aren't any, look for another group. Finally, so that there isn't any digital divide between the members of this, all the participants, there is Wi-Fi. And the network is Old Riga, and the password is 123NFF123. There's signs like this all over the place, but just to make sure that everybody knows about that, and so you don't get left behind. We will be meeting again here at 1:30 for the plenary. Have a great day. See you at 1:30. Very good.